These are the ages where you have to grab their attention. We have to educate the young. In fact, quite often they educate us as well. The main purpose of combining our universities is, connect, exchange, and innovate. And I would like to focus that primarily on the students, but also on the doctoral students and on our academic staff as well. So how can we together achieve much more? How can we connect? How can we exchange together to innovate, to try and resolve some of the global problems that we face at the moment, and also give our students a chance to go to other top technical universities in Europe and really broaden their minds and benefit from this great opportunity. Every technical university faces the challenge that we would love to have 50% men and 50% women. But we all know that there are societal barriers that quite often block young women from being open to follow a scientific or an engineering study course and eventually career. Clearly it's important not only men and women but also in diversity for all of the other groups as well, so that people feel welcome and able to study at our universities. I think at times in life you have to be a single researcher, a single sports person where you do things all on your own. And of course then it's easier to say whether you won or not. And I had a phase in my career where I was doing that and I was pretty successful at it. I won a lot of races. But I think more rewarding to me was the time afterwards, where I worked in teams to create opportunities for other people. And this is typically what you have to do as a professor when you have a group of doctoral students and maybe master students who are doing their research projects with you. And together they expose new learnings and help to solve problems that are too difficult to do on their own. So I think it goes from occasionally a single race to much more a team event. And whether you call it a competition or not, I don't know. But what I can certainly share with you is that what I've learnt from being an elite athlete in 3 different sports has been very valuable, and even more so what I learnt in the so-called Militsarbeit as a sport functionaire has been very valuable as a rector. Well, I think that climate change remains the biggest problem that we all face, and we all have to share methods and means of how we can reduce our carbon emissions. There is no way around this. We have to educate the young. In fact, quite often they educate us as well. And we all have to look at ourselves and make sure that we end up by being able to achieve the very challenging targets by 2030. And there's absolutely no guarantee that that will slow down climate change ultimately, but at least it won't make it get any worse than it is already. And we as technical universities can certainly together make a contribution. Why is that? Well, each university has core subjects, and in some areas we might find that only 1 or 2 of the universities studies that. For example, we have agricultural science, and this is something that is not done in all of the others. So I think we can share and work on multidisciplinary projects in a more effective way as a result of that. We all have our own research infrastructures, and sometimes we have a call, for example, on quantum technology, and researchers from the different universities will visit the other ones. Sometimes the doctoral students will also move and come and stay, so we have a new program on geothermal engineering, all sorts of aspects of geothermal. And we have a tunnel in the Alps here in Bedretto, which is set up with all sorts of monitoring instruments. So I could well imagine that doctoral students from Delft could come, for example, to Switzerland to be able to take measurements and share that. So that's exactly what we should be doing. Idea League has had now for 15 years an applied geophysics master's program, Master of Science, between Delft, Aachen and ETH, and it has been enormously successful. It has attracted really top students into our universities who go from one semester to each of us and then choose which of the three they want to do their master's projects. And I was a lecturer on that right at the very beginning, not in geophysics, but in soil mechanics and geotechnical engineering, that was very closely linked in the context of natural hazards and understanding the ground. And that I found really very interesting. I innovated in the way that I taught using blended learning. So effectively what everybody's saying now about COVID, I was ready when we started 15 years ago, and used all sorts of interesting flipped classroom concepts. So I think that has been a real plus and has been one of the foundations of the relationships in the Idea League. So I think that's really been very important. I think for me what's been very important has been the building the relationships both personally amongst the members of all of the Idea League groups, as well as the institutional relationships. I think that's been really very important, and my most key thing is to create opportunities for students to help them ultimately to reach their potential, and that is something that I hold very dear for and within the Idea League, and one that I shall be very grateful for and look forward to seeing how it develops in the future. We don't know what we're going to be facing in the future, so we better trust to our very clever researchers, professors and so on, and doctoral students and postdocs. Let them get on with the work and basically fund the top research and make sure that we then try and use it afterwards. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, bye-bye.